What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Haven. I know it's been quite a while between my episodes, and apologies for that. Just been going through some life stuff recently, but I am excited to get back on track and get in touch with y'all today. My plan is to kind of talk about what was behind the absence for the last couple months and how to overcome down spells and to tell you some stories that have uplifted me and inspired me, and some of the people that I've met along the way that kind of helped me get back on track in ways that they don't know about. Um, and a lot of this is very recent, so it's still very fresh, and I'm not really sure how this episode's going to go, but the goal is to keep it raw and real and to relate to people who go through down spells in life, even when there are so many things to be grateful for, so many things that could be going well. Sometimes we get in our own way, or sometimes our brain derails us, and that's okay. It's not okay because it sucks, but it is okay because we can always get back on track. And I know sometimes that feels harder than others, and some days that feels impossible, but it's not impossible. And we are not our thoughts. That's not our identity, I mean. So today's episode is kind of talking about what happened for me when I hit that down spell. And I think I haven't really thought too deeply about where it started or being able in hindsight to kind of identify when I started feeling the shift. Because for a moment there, I was feeling kind of on top of the world. Like I had so much energy and momentum and excitement about my projects and my intentions with healing the world and being a positive influence for people in the world. And I think where it kind of started is feeling like, there's still so many adult responsibilities in my life that these projects didn't directly benefit, like starting the business, seeing my clients, starting the podcast, publishing new episodes, keeping up with social media posts, and trying to put these positive forces out there were my own projects and my own doing, but they weren't really contributing financially or, I don't have a huge following, so it wasn't like these were things that were essential to my day-to-day responsibilities, but I felt like they were essential in terms of serving my soul's purpose and passion, which is important and valuable in its own sense. But I got to a point where I needed to start picking up extra side gigs, and I'm one of those people that is a total entrepreneurial at this stage in my life, and I do a lot of different things to get the bills paid, and I'm fortunate to be able to work hard and find ways to pay the bills and make the money that I need to survive. But that has made it difficult to stay on track with the things that I'm actually passionate about. Like when your time gets taken up by things that force you to pay your bills or force you to survive rather than enjoy your life. So I think the more that I started picking up the side gigs, and there was some turmoil and some tension in my relationship with my partner and home life, that nothing too crazy, but just like the stress of life was weighing on us so heavily that my heart started hurting, and I think I just got to a place where I wasn't happy, man. I wasn't happy at home. I wasn't happy with the work that I was doing. And then that kind of shut me down in terms of my creativity. It kind of put a block there for me. And it became difficult to produce content. It became difficult to talk about things. My throat chakra kind of closed up. My creativity was dulled. And I would sit down and try to do things, and nothing would come out, or nothing good would come out. And instead of being able to push through it, I started going down. And that happens from time to time. There's different seasons of life that will do that to you, and sometimes for no good reason at all. The depression will just strike. I'm somebody who's kind of struggled with that on and on throughout my life, and I don't really ever show it, but I do have a tendency to recluse when things, is that the word that I'm looking for? Recluse. Retreat. I kind of pull back to myself when that happens. I don't like to be seen when I'm down. And I don't know that a lot of people notice when that happens. Or if they do, they don't make it known that they notice. So I just kind of keep to myself because people know me as a outgoing, friendly, bubbly light in the room, so to speak. And when I can't show up as that, I don't show up. So that's something I'm working on, is trying to figure out how to still show up in any way possible when I start to feel those things coming on. And how do we combat those feelings so that it doesn't completely derail us? Because, when you start to get off your path a little bit, it's so easy to just like completely tumble down that hill. And then things start to feel like monumentous to get back on track. And you just start to feel so overwhelmed. And sometimes you just can't do it. Or at least not on your own. Like getting over that mental hurdle, it feels impossible. It's like climbing Mount Everest by yourself. And then you just lose the desire to do anything. You're just like, well, what's the point? It doesn't matter. Nobody's listening anyway. It's not getting engagement anyway. I have nothing to say anyway. Why would people listen to me? It's that whole negative downward spiral that your brain can get into. And so when I was going through that, and it got to be pretty gnarly, I had to talk to my partner about it. It led into a bigger conversation, and I feel like we're still kind of having that conversation because it's something that takes more than just one. But where my story really pivots is actually very recently, inspired by this. I took a little weekend getaway trip to go visit my sister this last weekend for her birthday. Happy birthday, Sarah. Um, and when I was down there, my sister just had a baby, and I'm like being around my brother-in-law and my sister, and of course now their baby. I've lived with them in a couple different states, both physically, like in different states in the country, and different states, like different stages of life. So they always feel like home to me. It always feels comfortable being there. And especially like being an auntie now, this is my first nephew by blood. I have a couple friends' kids who I'm very close with and love to death. But oh my gosh, the first baby in our family in 27 years, because I was the last baby in my family. So it's been really beautiful to see new life and be a part of a village in that sense. And it restored a sense of connection and responsibility to my network and my communities in a way that feels super important, and reminded me that life is more than just what's in my head. Sometimes you get so foggy in there that it becomes your reality, or at least it feels that way. So this trip was a way to kind of pull me out of my head and focus on the people around me and the things that really matter the most, which is your family and just living your life with love and joy. And our grandparents were there, and it was just so sweet to be able to see everybody come together and celebrate new life and celebrate my sister. And that kind of pulled me out of this funk a little bit. And in my airport travels, I don't know what it was about my return flight, but I swear to you, everywhere I went and every interaction I had with a person, like I was talking to people. Normally, I'm the type to go through the airport. I travel alone a lot, and I always have my headphones on, and I'm just kind of strolling through the airport by myself doing my own thing. And I enjoy that. It's kind of, I've always seen traveling as a time and space for me to be able to not talk to people because I'm very social all the time. But I was a little bit early for my flight, so there was a bar that was right next to my gate, which was perfect. I love when that happens. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll just go get a bite to eat and sit and have a drink and maybe watch a World Cup game and get on my flight when the time is ready. Well, I ended up sitting in between three people who were having the time of their lives. It was so cool to see. There was a school teacher who, I don't remember where she said she was from. I think she said she was living in the Northeast but was visiting family in the Southeast. Oh, no. I think she's from the Carolinas and she was going down to Florida. And then there was a saleswoman from Washington State who was doing a business trip in the Carolinas. And then there was a gentleman next to me who was DJing and was returning back to Florida. and he was a special soul, man. I mean, the three of them were just having the best time ever, and I ended up, this gentleman on the right ended up inviting me to sit in between them. He was very sweet. He had one of those like empathic, light, bright souls. He was very kind to everybody, and we all just started talking about life and laughing together, having drinks together, and really enjoying each other's company. And there's something about total strangers coming together and enjoying community in the moment. You know, we'll probably never see each other again. And the fact that we were able to sit there and talk about life and open up about things and share stories and laugh and share drinks and share moments was something that was so beautiful and really restored my vitality and my joy and reminded me that whatever was going on in my head was not worth being there long term. And that moments of being out in the world, you can find people and find joy anywhere at any time. All it takes is just being willing to connect with people and talk to people. And people are so willing to open up and connect. We all crave connection. So if you go out and you seek it just a little bit, it'll be right there. So I sat at the bar with these people for probably, I don't know, an hour and a half or so. We had a great time. We had a couple beers. We took some shots at the end. We were getting lit right before getting on our planes. And we all took a picture together. It was just cute, man. It was a sweet moment to be able to see. There was a young girl that joined us who was traveling abroad for the first time, and that was really sweet just to see, such different stages of life coming together, probably ranging from 20 to 50s, maybe. And it was just cool. All different ethnicities coming from different places, doing different things, and still finding a reason to come together and enjoy the company of these strangers. So, shout out to that group. Thank you for restoring vitality and joy in me in ways that you could have never known in that moment. But I really appreciate it, and I don't think that I'll ever forget it because it was such a beautiful moment that you just don't really see anymore. And then there was a gentleman on my flight who I sat next to who was probably about 20 years older than me, and we sat next to each other and we chatted the whole time. I want to say our flight was probably about 3 hours or so, maybe 3.5 hours or so. And we chatted the whole time, man. It was so beautiful to be able to talk to somebody and have respectful, deep, meaningful conversation and share things about our lives that were not necessarily private, but just share things about life that I guess you would only really share with a stranger that you might not have to ever worry about seeing again. Although it is kind of funny because it turns out we live like 20 minutes away from each other, so maybe we will cross paths again because we're neighbors practically. But we talked about life and relationships and what it's like to grow up and be in your 20s versus the next couple decades and how your perception of life changes and how that changes as an individual from graduating high school and in your journeys in your 20s and then getting in relationships and settling down, having kids, getting married, and just what the seasons of life look like and what our perspectives were and sharing things that were meaningful lessons to us, our perceptions of the world, our beliefs and our faith and our spirituality, where that comes from, what that journey has been like. And it was so refreshing again to be able to talk to somebody and open up your heart to somebody, even though you may never see them again. It was really cool to be able to just connect with people. And I'm telling you, it was like everywhere I turned, people were just opening their hearts to me. And likewise, I was also like right there willing to do the same thing. And it just reminded me how much people really yearn for that and naturally are built for that. And that was something I was talking to my brother-in-law. He drove me back to the airport, and that was something we talked about on the drive there was a lot about life, especially life in America right now. And, the tension and the division, but ways that people are coming together and our thoughts about the future and where that's headed. But there was just a lot of deep conversations, and I realized at the core of each individual one that we all want each other, and it's so much easier. People are so much more willing to talk to you and connect with you than you may think. And we're so distracted by our technology or our anxiety or our own problems in our head that we divide ourselves sometimes unintentionally. We pull back when we should be present and we should be willing to open up to others. And when I got to the airport, when I landed, I was super hungry because I hadn't had much food that day. Because when I intended to get food, I just drank alcohol instead. So I was ready for some food when we landed, and I ended up in the food court of the airport, and all the seating areas were taken except for this one table. So I sat down, and then a gentleman came and asked if I was sitting by myself and if he could join me, and I said, of course. There's no reason to stand there or sit on the floor while you're trying to eat. So he joined me, and it was even just that moment that I was like, I can't even remember the last time that I was able to sit with a stranger and share a conversation and share meals without being there together, like just being present with each other, but just by happenstance, like enjoying each other's company. And he was a very nice man, and we talked about our travels, where we were headed, what we did for work. He talked to me about some of the books that he had read this year, and it was just pleasant, man. He was a very sweet human, and perhaps our souls will cross again in terms of where our travels and what we do for work. And I did give out a lot of business cards yesterday, which was awesome. That felt good to, like, when talking about work and talking about what I do, that in and of itself also restored a lot of my purpose and passion and reminded me, like, what I'm here to do. And having so many different conversations with so many different people brought out this excitement of, oh yeah, I'm here to connect with people. And when I do, it's the best feeling in the world, and there's nothing that satisfies my soul more than being able to connect with people and have a positive experience on both ends. So I'm very grateful for every single person that crossed my path yesterday coming back from the airport. I feel like every single one of those people was divinely orchestrated into crossing paths yesterday. And it's just so funny how little moments like that and getting out of my head have totally turned me around and put me back on the right track, as if it was so easy all along. But I figured that could be a good first episode back. It kind of giving y'all some perspective on what was going through my head the last couple months and the struggles of life and how sometimes that derails you and kills your passion and your creativity. But when you're open to it, the universe always seems to provide a way, or the right people at the right time in the right places to help you get back on track. And that is something that I'm very grateful for. And if I could tell you anything, if I could put in summation this episode, is to hold on to your hopes and your dreams through your passion. Even if you're having a hard time pursuing it through your passion, just remember it. Remember it. Think about it. Think about what you like, what you enjoy, what you feel called to do, and stay open to receiving the help that you may need to get there, or to pursue it, or to reignite your flame, your fire, your passion, your creativity, your momentum, your progress, your action, whatever it is. Remain open to receiving the tools, people, the places, the support that you need to be successful in achieving your passions and your purpose. Because the universe will provide. And for me, that looked like providing me the right people in the airport along my way home to restore my vitality and joy and remember what it is that I feel called to do. And in that remembrance, taking action to do it. So this is an example of doing it, is recording this podcast episode and publishing it. Even if it's not perfect, even if it's not some of the things that I've planned to talk about thus far, it's just an example of taking that momentum and doing something with it and putting it out there. And once I hit publish, I'm sure I'll feel so much better and feel like I'm being productive again and I can get back to my passions. So thank you. Special shout outs to Rico, Taylor, Mike, Scott, and others along the way that I got to chat with yesterday. And shout out to Sarah for your birthday. Shout out to Gina, which is Rico's sister. It was her heavenly birthday yesterday, and it it was very clear that she was present on his mind. So I've never met that woman in my life. And also, Mike told me on the flight that his sister had passed away. And that was something that seemed a strange connection as well. Like, the people that I was speaking with were going through losses of their siblings when I was there to celebrate my sibling's birthday. It was a weird coincidence of that just reminded me how grateful I am for family and being with my sister, and how that may translate in some more personal ways in my life that I won't bore you with in this episode. But the universe will always provide. Stay open to receiving. Stay open to people. And see what kind of magic can come about. I love y'all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I look forward to our next conversation. If you have any comments, questions, or stories of your own that you would like to share, I would love to hear from you in the comments, or you can always DM me. You can find me on social media at Sky Haven Healing. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, although my YouTube is a little bit dull at the moment, but it's not the plan forever. Or you can visit my website, skyhavenhealing.com, if you have any interest in working with me or just connecting with me in general. I'd also love to collaborate with somebody if you're interested in joining me on a podcast episode. If there's any particular topics about life, love, confusion, passion, excitement, anything about life that may interest you that you'd like to talk about, I would love to be your sounding board. So, again, feel free to reach out. My platforms are open and available. Thank you all for listening, and I will catch you next time. I love you. Bye.